7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hello everyone! So this is my graffiti look. I wanted this look to be colorful, sparkly, messy, fun and not too serious. I used mostly pastel colors because that's my favorite, and I wanted this look to represent who I am as a person. Let's get started on the tutorial. I'm starting off with the NYX pore filler and applying this, focusing on the center of my face. I'm taking the NYX full coverage concealer in orange to help cover up my huge dark circles, and then I'm taking the NYX above and beyond full coverage concealer in porcelain on top of that and then blending it out. And then it's time for a foundation. I mixed two shades from the Stay Matte But Not Flat liquid foundations. I mixed ivory and nude, and I'm applying this to my face, neck and chest area. I'm applying the NYX HD finishing powder in mint green to help set the foundation and diffuse any leftover redness. Then it's time for some colors. I'm using the NYX primal colors in hot pink and start shading my forehead and down my cheekbones. And on my ears and down my neck. And down towards my face I'm using a smaller and more dense brush to do the shading, and I'm going back to the bigger and fluffier brush to apply pink all over my upper body. Next I'm taking the NYX Wonder Pencil in light. I'm using this to make these circle shapes on my chest area. I'm doing this to have some guidelines for the chest graffiti, and if you mess up with the Wonder Pencil you can just take your finger and rub it away before you continue. Which is much harder to do with the eyeliner that we're gonna use to make the graffiti. That's why it's better to map everything out beforehand. In between these bumps or circles I'm making some creatures. I'm making some bunny looking creatures and some alien looking creatures. I'm also making some of the circles into creatures by drawing eyes and a mouth on them. On some of the other circles I'm making patterns like stripes or circles on the circles. And I'm also making a couple of them look like cupcakes with frosting and a cherry on top. And I also made some runny dripping patterns on the bottom of the circle bumpy thingies. I'm doing some half circles on my forehead to match my chest, and I'm only doing patterns in these, no creatures. Next, it's time for brows. I'm using the NYX Prismatic Shadow in Mermaid to fill in my brows. Then I'm using the NYX Color Mascara in Mint Julep to really make them minty and colorful. Then moving down to my eyes, I'm using the NYX eyeshadow base in Skin Tone to prime my lids. I'm taking the NYX primer colors in Hot Fuchsia and applying this to the outer and inner corner of my eyelids. I'm blending this out to avoid any harsh edges, leaving the middle of my eyelid mostly fuchsia free. Then I'm taking the white color from the NYX Avant Pop palette and applying this in the middle of my eyelid and blending it softly into the fuchsia color. With the fuchsia color, I'm contouring my nose and also making the tip of my nose pink. I'm also applying it to my cupid's bow. For highlight, I'm using a mix of NYX Baked Shadow in White Noise and NYX Prismatic Shadow in Frostbite. I'm highlighting all the usual places, including my neck, ears, collarbones, you know, usual. And now it's time to fill in the chest graffiti. I'm using NYX Vivid Brights liquid liners in Vivid Halo, Vivid Blossom, Vivid Petal and Vivid Escape on the circle shapes, and I'm using Vivid Fire on the cherries. I'm using the same colors to fill in the half circle shapes on my forehead. Next we're gonna outline the chest graffiti using the super fat eye marker. And don't worry too much about making the line even. Personally, I think it looks better if it's not that even, but that's my preference. I'm also using this to fill in the chest creatures. And applying patterns to circles and eyes to circle creatures. Same procedure on the forehead, lining the shapes and making some patterns. Then I'm making some creatures on the top of my eyebrow. I'm making two bunnies and one alien creature. I'm using the Vivid Brights to fill in the bunny eyes and alien faces both on my eyebrows and on my chest. And if you mess up, just go back in with the eye marker and clean up the edges. And now for the fun, messy part. I'm taking the NYX color mascaras in Mint Julep, Perfect Pear, Pink Perfect, Forget Me Not, and Coral Reef, and applying this randomly down my cheekbones and my upper body. And I'm randomly applying these hashtags with the super fat eye marker, and using all the Vivid Brights from earlier, but this time also including Vivid Light and Vivid Violet. I'm making these runny lines from my eyes and also down my neck. I'm including a few lines with the super fat eye marker too. And then I figured I need some more highlight underneath my brow, so I'm using this NYX Glam Liner in Glam Platinum to do that. Then taking the NYX Primal colors in Hot Black and a clean toothbrush, I'm first pressing the toothbrush down into the eyeshadow, then pressing the toothbrush towards my skin to make some nice textures. Using the Glam Liners in Glam Pink, Glam Nude, Glam Azure and the Glam Platinum used underneath our eyebrows, I'm applying this underneath my eye and on my neck, just as we did with the Vivid Brights. I'm using these NYX liquid crystal liners in Crystal Silver and Crystal Pink, and I'm using them to fill in some of the patterns and making lines down underneath my eyes and down my neck. And I think we all agree that you can't get enough glitter, so I'm using the NYX Glitter Primer and the NYX Face and Body Glitter in Crystal, and I'm applying this randomly on my face and upper body. I felt that my forehead wasn't messy enough, so I'm applying some runny lines. I'm happy with my face, and now it's time for mascara and lashes. I'm using NYX Doll Eye Mascara. I'm using NYX Wicked Lashes in Malevolent, and I'm gluing on these first, and then I'm gluing on some feathers. On my lips, I'm first applying the NYX Macaron Lippy in Pistachio, then I'm applying the NYX Wicked Lippy in Stone Cold on top. I used a white hair color spray on my hair, then I used the Redken Metal Fix, which is a metallic liquid pomade, on my roots, and I'm also applying some of the crystal glitter to make it extra shiny and glittery. To make my hand pink, I used the NYX matte lipstick in Shocking Pink. I also used some of the liquid liners and mascara that I used earlier. And voila! That is the finished look! This is my second challenge video in the Nordic Face Awards. Which 5 who goes on to the final challenge is decided by public vote, and you can vote by going to nordicfaceawards.com, and it's 1 vote per person. So, if you feel like I deserve this, please take a second to vote. I can't do this without you. Go Team Bubblegum!